Welcome, everybody. We'll kind of start a little slow to give a few more people time to kind of filter into the room. But I have to say, this is like one of our more popular webinars. And we were just discussing in the green room before everybody came in. We were kind of like, what made this so popular? Because Morgan and I do these about once a month. And I'll tell you, this one's gotten about 50% more. We maxed out our Zoom registration at 500 people on this. So there's three guests. One or all of them must be a VIP or celebrity status because, as I said, I don't think it's Morgan and I, but we're very excited that so many people came. We were wondering if people just don't have much to do as we get close to the holidays, so we'll be happy to fill that time. This is a panel discussion. I will start by introducing myself, and then I'm going to turn it over to the other four panelists and let them give a little 60-second commercial on what they do so I don't mess it up. And then we'll dive right into it. You guys are welcome to ask questions in the chat or in the raise your hand or however it's done. I'm self-moderating here. I've already got a comment here that says Mike is the celebrity, so that does it. It's you. So I'll give credit where credit's due. But I'm Brad Kugler. I am the CEO and co-founder of Direct Mail 2.0, as well as the recently acquired Who's Mailing What, which has been around almost as long as I've been alive. So I'm glad to be the one trusted and take care of that and build that brand as we will continue to do into the next year. And I will be your moderator for the next hour. We will end on time. So I'll turn it over to my trusty colleague, Morgan. Who are you?
Thanks, Brad. I'm Morgan DeGiorgio. I'm the Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing for Direct Mail 2.0 and now Who's Mailing What. And our sole purpose is to make direct mail the most effective form of marketing by integrating it with cutting-edge technology. We have a 15 technology omnichannel marketing platform with a real-time reporting dashboard that integrates digital marketing into direct mail campaigns and provides tracking and attribution data. And printers and mailers all over the country buy a license to white label and resell our tech stack to their direct mail clients. Now, as Brad alluded to, as of May of this year, we acquired Who's Mailing What. So now we get to assist printers, mailers, and brands take mail to the next level with competitive intelligence insights and lead generation opportunities to seek and acquire new direct mail customers. So we've got a lot more in the works, some of which we'll probably touch on today in this webinar, and we continue to grow and evolve so we can add value to the direct mail industry.
Thank you, Morgan. Ashley, tell us about yourself and what you've been doing.
Right, yeah. So I'm Ashley Roberts. I'm the content director of Printing Impressions, and some of you on this event might be familiar with Printing Impressions. Mark Michelson was in the role that I'm currently in for over 40 years. He just retired in September, end of September. So I'm new to the role, but I've been in the printing industry for 10 years and previously working in packaging, wide format a little bit of the commercial side of things. And I'm very happy now to be focused on the commercial side of the printing industry. And yeah, super excited to be here.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Dina.
I am Dina Kessler. I'm the president and co-founder of Kessler Creative. We are a commercial printing direct mail company based out of Jacksonville, Florida. We actually serve clients nationwide. My husband and I started the company 17 years ago, and we have grown quite a bit to where we started out originally print and probably 95% direct mail. We do a lot more different variety of commercial printing. We also do a lot of marketing, lead generation for clients, as well as we have a whole large format division.
Thank you, Dina. And Mike.
Hi, everybody.
You're the celebrity, so.
Yeah. I thought that was Dina. I'm Mike Philly. I'm the principal of the Philly Group. So I started the Philly Group in 2007 to try to leverage my experience in the commercial and direct mail print space, where I spent almost three decades working for in companies, in those type of companies. Just having a blast doing what I do, which is really helping companies, working with owners and CEOs of organizations, print, direct mail, packaging organizations, helping them get from here to there safely. Meaning their business is either they're in a good place and they want to try to get better, sometimes they're not where they want to be, and there's a little more sense of urgency to make those changes. Work with companies all over North America, some in Canada as well. Also get involved in leadership development. I've got a couple other those programs and peer groups. And I will share, I probably shouldn't say this, but so I'm finishing up my 45th year in this industry. Almost starting to like it, right? So almost, still trying to learn something new every day. But what's really cool, and the reason I mentioned that is I just got off the phone with a senior paper exec who works out of the Northeast and one of the major metropolitan areas. And he was telling me he's been working in the paper industry for 37 years and still at it, works nationwide. And, it's nice to see that longevity but constantly learning, constantly trying to bring new ideas to the table. So, Brad and Morgan and Ashley, Dina, I'm humbled to be on the stage with you guys today. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys all for appearing. This has been a hand-picked group that has a lot of different viewpoints on the direct mail industry. We're all here to hear about what we see as the direct mail trends for 2025. And all of us have a little bit of a different perspective. So as your moderator, I'm going to start with mine. And then we've got questions as we'll move into that. I see the key word of 2025 as consolidation. All right. This is something that I've seen myself over the last few years of a consolidation of commercial printers. Obviously there's good and bad with something like that. Another thing that I think has been a big change is our post office. They're going through an evolution, and whether it's become obvious to you or not, they're focused on being a profit-making business, although it has not been very successful the last several years. They hope that they're moving towards that. The incoming administration, who is all hell-bent on Department of Government Efficiency or whatever you call it, I'm sure will be accelerating that push. But I wanted to bring up something interesting I saw just yesterday. And you may not have seen this, and I'll share the link. But the Royal Mail, that's been around for 500 years, has sold the entire United Kingdom post office to a Czech investor for $3.2 billion. I don't know how many of you guys heard that. I couldn't believe it at first, but I looked it up. It is true. They offloaded the whole thing. The whole thing. I'm not suggesting this is an idea or on the table for our USPS, a privatization of that, but seeing what the incoming administration is doing and now seeing it actually happen in the UK, I would not be surprised if something like that may happen in the next 5 years. So my little point on trends of the consolidation and the changes with the USPS are probably two of the driving factors, followed right behind it by AI, which we'll talk about, and everybody has their own opinion on that. So I'm going to start letting each of you say, since I've already stated my trends, and hopefully I didn't steal anyone's thunder, I'd like to hear what you think is the biggest trend that you see coming in 2025. And we'll start with Mike, since he was the one to finish up.
Well, thanks, Brad. So to me, it's the chasm between the haves and the have-nots continues to grow and gets wider and wider. My experiences shows me that, I mean, basically every week is that those companies that are doing well are really doing well, and they continue to grow by leaps and bounds. They're not selling it by the pound, they're selling it by the truckload. When they go after key accounts, they go after enterprise level types businesses. And I get that it's not for everybody, right? I totally understand that. But the bigger, the better, well run, more efficient are continue to pull away from the pack. This is not new. This, I think, really started. I remember back in my days at NAPL when Andy used to talk about this. That gap. It used to be everybody kind of grew and receded at the same pace. 2008, 2009, really we saw that start to change. And the gap started to companies that are in the middle, in the bottom tier, and in the top tier, they're doing fine. Don't get me wrong. But the ones at the top are accelerating. Just I see that acceleration. Um, they're not doing it willy-nilly. It's very calculated. Some through consolidation, some through acquisition, some through organic. Um, but they're pulled away from the pack. And I guess to me, that's a lesson that I see that we all need to be on our game because otherwise, the pie continues to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah, if I can say this effort of going after enterprise and larger level customers, this is kind of what separates the wheat from the chaff. You've got to kind of grow up and get your big boy pants on, or you're going to kind of get swept away. You have to deal on that professional level. Everybody should be trying to improve their business and improve their professionalism to go to that next level of customer. So I definitely agree with that, Mike. And on that note, I'll quickly go to Dina for her major trend for 2025.
Yeah, so similar to what you guys are saying, we see it on the perspective of the spend, right? So when you talk about consolidating, companies are being smarter with their dollars. They are being very focused with them. So it may not be as many marketing campaigns. It's the impact that those campaigns are going to have and how they can do the add-ons to them that will make that campaign reach more of the audience than just by sending, right? Just so it's not just the mail piece, it's what can we do to add on, what can we do, digital components, IP retargeting, those kind of things to stay in front of the prospects, as well as when you're marketing to your loyal base, right? So it's the same thing. It's your, who your loyal customers are, doing a great piece and on the front part of how to communicate with them throughout the year, and not just a direct mail piece, but what are the other components we can add on and focus. And again, I think you're going to see a lot more analytics. A lot of people are going to really analyze. They're going to do more testing. The A/B testing is never, it's never too old, right? To test things to see what's working best. Maybe it's not mailing to 200,000 people. Maybe they're consolidating down to 50,000 because they know that's the target. And how do they, stay in touch with those people throughout the year? So
Makes sense. I
that's
mean,
what we're seeing.
we sing the same song about the omni-channel presence and doing more than just putting ink on paper. That's, I think, a given, and more are coming to see that. Thank you very much. Ashley, you're kind of press for this industry. If anybody's got to have their ear to the rail on all fronts, it's probably you.
Yeah, so there are a couple things I was thinking about this maybe in a little bit of a different way. And actually, I think I'm going to change my answer. Originally, I was going to talk about sustainability because it's something that I'm maybe,
Passionate.
passionate about, but also very focused on right now. And I've been talking to a lot of companies about their sustainability initiatives. But actually, now hearing what Dina said, I'm going to say embellishments, another passion area of mine. And I'm going to say it because I just had this conversation actually with Jeff Peterson of FSCA for an article I did. And he was talking about how they worked with this small car wash in this local area. And they did a targeted mailing and they split it. They did A/B testing. Half of them got this, a postcard, nice postcard with the code. And then half of them got an embellished postcard that had spot and textured coatings and these beautiful digitally produced enhancements. And they saw a 4% lift in response rate from that. And obviously that's, kind of one example. But when I have had conversations with people recently, I think, there are so many cool things that can be done, especially with digital technology. And using hyper-personalization along with embellishments. So that's something that I think that I'm excited about and I want to see more of in 2025. Yeah.
Well, that's great insight. Just to lift on that point is next month our webinar is going to be entitled direct mail add-ons that is specifically focusing on embellishments and omni-channel and things you can do on top of the ink on paper only models. So I'm plugging next month's event. Make sure you watch our website for that. So last but not least, Morgan, I have a feeling I know what you're going to talk about, but
Well,
go
yeah.
ahead. I'll get out of your way.
Well, I definitely agree a lot with what Dina and Ashley said, but one thing I just want to touch on a little bit is about direct mail volumes because, as direct mail costs have continued to rise and volumes plummeted as some marketers pulled out of mail or they were lowering their DM budget because of cost, I think that there will be more awareness from the marketers who did this of how the pullback on their direct mail marketing budgets has affected their business and revenue, and that the realization that mail is an integral piece to the overall marketing strategy and the leveraging of both digital and direct mail in a seamless manner through that omni-channel marketing approach is what is really delivering the best results. And especially in today's marketing ecosystem where mail isn't the only technology where cost has increased. Digital marketing is saturated and CPMs have increased and response rates have declined for the digital marketing as well. So using just digital without DM is not a favorable strategy. And I think that the marketers that were going in that direction are going to start to feel some of the pain there and be moving back into an investment in DM. And, I agree with what Ashley said about the hyper-personalization. Now, personalization in mail has been a growing trend for several years, but I really believe you're going to see this being taken to the complete next level. With the use of detailed customer data to tailor each mail piece with unique offers and recommendations and content based on past purchases or website behavior. And lastly, because omnichannel is such a favorable marketing tactic and we have more marketers employing that, silos among media channels are diminishing. And that's caused a little bit of an attribution gap when direct mail is deployed into the media mix. So I also think that there's going to be an increase in the use of technologies to prove and show direct mail attribution. And it's increasingly more important as the cost has continued to grow. Customers want to know, is my DM converting? And I think they're going to continue to invest in the analytics necessary to close this gap and really see which channels are converting.
I couldn't agree more. The ability now to track and report on ROI on direct mail is sort of bulletproof at this point, especially when digital omni-channel campaigns are added onto it. So, this was a problem 10 or 20 years ago. You asked the person at the front desk, did anybody bring in the postcard or use so that those things have been solved. So that is good. Well, good. We got through one question. All right. I'm going to skip. There's a lot of chatter in the chat about this USPS and Royal Mail thing, as I figured there might be. So I'm going to jump right to that. I don't know if you guys saw, but Louis DeJoy was hauled in front of Congress last week and did his face in the hands and got into it with the senators and all that. And as I stated, I think that's going to be a trend changer for 2025 in one way or another. I don't know, but it seems like, what's going on in Canada with the strike and what's going on in UK. This is a major point of contention, and I'm going to throw out one of my thoughts and opinions because I can and I will. But it's always been my thought that why is our USPS competing with FedEx and DHL and all these other parcel companies? Stick to the mail. That's what the original charter was from Ben Franklin in 1789. And they're chasing the dollars by higher revenue pieces such as parcels and packages. Great. If you want to increase revenue, absolutely the way to go. But why would the government agency compete with private companies? That's not the job, and it was never intended by the original founding fathers, in my humble opinion. So if I were to try and use the post office to improve direct mail, of which I have no authority, only my, uneducated opinion, I would say do something with postage to encourage people who have never mailed. There's a generation of advertisers out there that they don't even know what direct mail advertising is. They get a bill in the mail and, they probably don't even know how to write a check and put it back into the mail system. They go online. So you have an entire generation now that doesn't even understand the value of using the post office to market to people. There are no privacy restrictions. There are no, you've all seen the memes where you can send anything through the mail. So I'd think, and again, this is my opinion, and I voice it here so that maybe it gets a groundswell and people disseminate what I think might be a good idea if others agree, is create a postage discount that would allow first-time mailers or people that have never mailed in years, 5, 10 years, to get a decent discount. When I say decent, 20, 30% off that first or second mailing. If you've never mailed, or if you have not mailed in 5 or 10 years, that one mailing or the two mailings or 6 months worth of mailings, do that. Figure it out. I've brought it up to the powers that be at USPS. Oh, it's too hard to figure out. It's too hard to track. Well, some of the stuff they've done with postage discounts is the most wild, harebrained tracking ideas I've ever seen. They're so complicated, it's not worth the 4 or 5% they save. All right. Something like this would make it worthwhile. I'm sure a bunch of smart guys could figure this out. That is my preach. That is my opinion on USPS. Does anybody else have a USPS opinion? Let's hear it. Ashley's chomping at the bit. Go.
I was going to say and someone else in the comments had mentioned incentives for, USPS. I totally agree. I think, and expanding the mail growth incentives that they have, kind of rewarding the people that are, experiencing growth there, and expanding what they already, they offer. For example, I saw in 2025, going back to sustainability, because it is something I'm passionate about, they're offering 1% as an add-on to the other incentives, which, okay, fine, but 1%.
The add-on is good.
Yeah, add-on, yeah. But expanding what they're, the programs that they have, I think, and what you've said is, yeah, it's a place they could start.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, they are doing that.
What's the comment on the AI promotion, right? You had a very good point you brought up, Morgan. You want to tell everybody, or are you dare not speak?
Well, no, I mean, the AI promotion, I don't understand, because you're incentivizing people to use Chat GPT and taking jobs away from creative designers and people that are putting offers together. You're literally taking a service away from the industry. I just don't get it. I mean, and just, I have to get on my soapbox for a minute. I just have to say, like, stop raising the cost of postage. Like, I know there's no postage increase in January 2025 and we're getting a little break, but I mean, what other product or service can you think of that has a twice a year price increase year over year for several years in a row? What business, what service, what product? None. Any business that wants to incentivize sales offers a discount or a sale, and marketers are paying more and more for the exact same product. They're getting a diminishing or decrease in the results. The post office 2024 fiscal report shows revenue up, but to the detriment of direct mail volume down unproportionately, and in a political mail year where we know mail volumes are always higher. So, that's something that needs to be looked at. And the other thing is too, it's like you were talking about, Brad, why are we competing with UPS and FedEx? Stop cannibalizing your unique selling proposition. USPS has a unique selling proposition that no one else has. Mail. So, like, why are we going after packaging and like leaving our unique selling proposition on the table to die? I think
much bigger revenue.
Well, yeah, but we need to have more resources into educating marketers on the efficacy and power of mail. Dissect every out point and objection on mail and heavily promote its use, and penetrate brands with powerful statistical backed data to keep mail as a contender in the ring. And I'll say this last thing and I'll get off my soapbox. DeJoy hasn't done a terrible job, okay? And the position he's inherited is beyond challenging, and he is getting a lot of heat. He maybe hasn't done the best job, but he hasn't done a terrible job. But the other thing, too, is why are we holding USPS to standards that we don't hold other government agencies to? Why is USPS the only government entity that is not allowed to run in a deficit? Like, I don't get it. They're treating it like it's a private organization, but I don't know. At any rate, I just don't think that the aggressive postage increases and dropping mail as a family outcast is a solution to the deficit problem. I don't. So
agreed. All right, Mike, your turn.
Yeah,
But
so I want to add on to something that Dina said, and I thought it was really important. We're seeing more and more feedback from our mailings, right? There's more and more tools available to figure out what's working, what's not working. And not trying to jump ahead here, but I think with AI, some of the AI tools and some of the services that like Morgan and Brad provide and some of the others, I think what that does is open up because let me back up. The big guys, the big direct mailers, have been using data to understand what's working, what's not working for years, because they were able to collect that information, parse it out, do the analytics, and figure out what's next. And they didn't stop at just A/B testing. They had A, B, C, D, E, F, and a whole bunch of others testing all along, right? I think what's as a trend perhaps, and I think just piling on Dina, what Dina said, is that I think this starts to open a door for if we're smart about it, it opens the door to other people that might not have used direct mail in the past. Because now we can provide them a little bit more tools, a dashboard, if you will, right? So they can see how it's working. They can see how it's been being more effective. And particularly as you combine it with, in an omni-channel campaign. So it's the we're taking off the shroud of secrecy of our what works, what doesn't work a little bit through more technology. Again, AI plays a big part of this, and again, particularly with some of these services that you guys are all providing to the customers. So I think we're going to see more customers, I guess, is the bottom line. And if you're a service provider, then I think you need to promote that and teach that to the people who may not have gotten into direct mail in the past, but based on their business model, they should be doing it, right? Anyway, so I thought I'd add that to it because I think Dina made a great point about that.
good. Well, thank you, Mike, for that. I want to give Dina the chance to make any comments on USPS and that aspect of it before we move on.
Yeah, and I tread lightly what I say, but because of my relationships with the USPS and what we do for a living. But I will say the mail growth incentive plan was great. It continues to be great. There's another 25 sign up. We have customers utilizing it. They are doing way more mail because of it. I think the level and the threshold was set very high. So maybe instead of 30% give back for those doing large volume, there is a level. Like, what if we went in and dropped that in half and then did 15% credit? Maybe it is the incentive for the first time mailer. They'd have to set a threshold. You're not going to say, oh, the first time mailer doing 5,000 pieces, right, is going to get 30% off. But I think there's so many levels they can take that mail growth incentive and focus because it is targeted towards the mail owner, which is great. It's the ultimate person paying that bill and that postage bill. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. They easily have the ability to track that. They're showing that with the current mail growth incentive. It's very easy for them to track, for the mail service provider to track, the mail order to track. Super easy way to get those funds back and designate where it goes to. So I think they open the doors. They need to explore it more. They need to work more with the mail owners and mail service providers and how they can make that happen. And then I'm going to say something that's probably not politically correct, but they spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So while they're in a deficit, they can take a hardcore look, just like any organization does, and how they can save money. And their biggest thing is their payroll. So there's definitely departments they don't need. And they could easily wipe out labor by getting rid of those departments. And, you talk about going after like the shipments, right? And the packages, there's a part of that you see it. Well, if I can get $20 for that box to deliver it, as opposed to 50 cents for that mail piece, right? And collectively, I'm delivering to the household to generate more revenue. That's where I think Louis DeJoy has done a really good job of you capitalizing on that, right? But you have a sales force that's selling. Maybe they don't need as many of the sales force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think they should take a look at all their different departments and what they can do to streamline some of that labor. Just like you would have to do, Brad, I'd have to do, right? Ashley, if your budget got cut, Mike, same, like if we had no choice, we'd have to make a decision, right?
Sure.
So,
Absolutely. And you know, until you've walked in someone's boots, you don't really know what they're dealing with. But you know, he has made a concerted effort to improve infrastructure and grow revenue. That's I don't think anybody's disputing that. And you know, there's some people that
yeah.
wouldn't be able to accomplish that. So kudos to him for that. It's created some controversy. You know, we're obviously not an impartial piece of this industry being focused on direct mail here, so we're tainted in that sense. You know, I'm not disagreeing. All right, thank you for those comments. Let's move on to the next elephant in the room. It's affecting every piece of industry of every business, probably everywhere on the planet, and it's AI. It's probably going to change everything in the next 5 to 10 years. Almost every is I've said this for a couple of years. As much as the internet changed business in the late 90s and early 2000s, I believe AI will have a larger impact on more industries in the next 5 years than the emergence of the internet 20 some years ago. Um, Everything we do, you know. So let's talk about that in relation to the direct mail business. All right. Again, I'll put in our plug. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do predictive models for direct mail based on the hundreds of thousands of pieces we've collected and the campaigns we've monitored. Uh, I just hope somebody will actually pay for the data, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, I think it's a great idea. Everybody I talk to says it's a great idea, but will they pay for it? And I think that goes with any investment in AI. The idea is to make something more efficient, to save money, or if you're building a tool, you got to sell that tool. All right. Will people pay for that tool? Now, I know businesses are paying for aspects of AI to make more efficiency in their business, but how can it be used in our industry? All right. One of the biggest, most obvious things, and I'm not gonna let you guys comment on the part about creative and copy creation. We all know about that. That's old news. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. We've all tried it, and sometimes it's terrible, and you wish you didn't even bother. But I'd love to know, and if you don't have a different answer, fine. How do you think AI will change what you do in this industry? And we'll start with Mike on that.
So really kind of look at four different areas on this, right? I think as I mentioned earlier, AI is going to allow more and more people to do direct mail smarter, right? And by that could be a better and more precise prospect targeting. Who do we really want to mail to, and why? More real-time campaign performance analysis and results, right? Looking at those dashboards and seeing and being able to make decisions, particularly, for example, if you're a retailer and you're dependent upon this grand opening for, I'm making this up here, right? But on the performance of this mailing that's going out, right? You get some real-time information and you can better prepare more so than ever before. I think the other side behind the curtain is much more automated production workflows. So the people producing the direct mail and getting it into the mail stream and all of those things, it's going to decrease the cost, increase the efficiency, increase the velocity of the work going through the shops. That's one of my pet peeves. Velocity, how quickly can work go through and be produced? Because clients don't give you more time these days. I don't think anybody does. They give you less time. And then the last area is really a more sophisticated a customer journey mapping, right? So how do customers buy? Why do they buy from you, right? And I think the better you know about that, then the better you're going to be able to design your direct mail campaigns to suit those, so you're meaningful and relevant to the audience you're going after. So I think those are the four things that I think of with AI, other than spell checking some of the stuff that I do.
Thank you, Mike. I'm just answering someone. Thank you. All right, Dina, you're next. I'm just going around the circle as I see you on the screens here. So, you know,
I'm going to juggle us next time. No, I, Mike, what Mike shared about the customer journey is something that we're actually not currently for clients, but we're doing that and looking at that for ourselves because, I talked about like labor and so forth as a business owner, like that's the biggest component for us of what we look at. And so not that I want to reduce staff, but if I can do more with the team that I have, AI is going to play a part in that, right? Instead of me adding like more team members, I can take that our lead gen. So we're using AI to analyze our lead gen, who we're trying to go after, how to go out there and without labor, but using AI, find the right contacts for that. I have a team that's been focused on looking at different softwares, talking to different companies about how we can do that to bring in more leads for our sales force. So that's our focus this year and going into 25, how we can utilize that.
That's a great point, good, good. Morgan, how about you? Tell me your thoughts. Don't rubber stamp me.
Yeah, I mean, just it's kind of, I'll just expound a little bit on what was shared here, but I think that AI will play a lot into the key trends for direct mail, like the hyper personalization, right? We can analyze campaign data, we can predict which recipients are most likely to respond. We can optimize mailing lists so you can be marketing to really highly targeted audiences. And the predictive modeling AI algorithms can really take this to the next level because they can analyze really large data sets, right, to predict individual preferences like purchase behavior, even life events, right? It would really allow for very highly personalized mail pieces with offers and messages that are really tailored right to that direct mail recipient. Now, the other thing too is that in terms of DM campaigns themselves, you can actually train AI algorithms on DM campaign historical data to identify the patterns and correlations between the campaign elements and the response rates. And that's what we're doing with the DM20.ai. But also in the automation of the tasks, right? So the data analysis, the content creation, and then as Dina was alluding to, not even just the lead generation, but some of this AI can actually be employed to even nurture the leads that are coming in. Like you can set up funnels so that as the leads are coming into your organization, as they click on an ad and they come in, you can have preset questions that are being answered and be grabbing data and capturing data about them and doing some of the work for your sales team and kind of teeing that up for them to come in and then have a more formalized consultative call with them. So pretty much the same tone here, that Dina and Mike said, but yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done with AI and I'm excited to see what it's going to bring to the industry. Although I will share that I am personally a little standoffish on the AI. I do have a little bit of a fear button there. Brad is like AI, like all the way. I'm kind of like scared we're going to see like a real life Terminator here a little bit. I mean, I'm just sharing that. Just a little concerned of where it can go without proper regulation. So I'm just going to drop that right there. We need to be a little cautious and responsible with the AI.
I just to interject, I mean, my fear on AI in terms of a humankind threat to our species, not so much, but more. Everybody's using the buzzword AI, and this happened to us. We had used a lead gen AI company who went through and created these funnels and
Terrible.
these auto responses, and I'm a somewhat technical guy, and I'm like, what's the AI here? There was no actual AI. AI is where it teaches itself based on a huge data set how to correct itself going forward. This was just a thing where you filled out some things and it put some funnels together and said it was marketing automation and they called it AI. So I wanted to make a point that buyers who are seeking AI solutions, you need to separate the marketing from the beef, you might say. What is the AI? Show me the artificial intelligence or the self-learning capabilities of the tool that you're being sold. So there's going to be a weed out period where everybody's calling anything they're doing now AI, and it just is not. The fact that I'm building one, I know even more what's a real AI and what's not. You start with a giant data set that learns and self-corrects the more and newer data that comes in. That's the key point here. All right, Ashley, I didn't want to cut you off on this. You get your minute on the soapbox.
Okay, I mean, I don't have too much more to add. I think Dina, Morgan, Mike, Brad, you all had great points, working smarter, not harder. Someone in the comments said, which I really appreciate, you can't eliminate the human element, especially as a journalist. That's huge. Like, I do use, not going to talk about content creation, but I do use it in some ways to help build social media posts and stuff. But there's always that human touch. Like, I add my own voice and stuff. But actually, to something Mike Philly said, in workflow optimization, so thinking about it from the production side of things, using AI, leveraging analytics for intelligent job grouping, and improving efficiency, I think that's going to be really huge, especially as postage costs go up and everything else. We want to make sure we're doing things as efficiently and streamlined, reducing waste as much as possible. So that's kind of where I see AI being really beneficial.
I agree 100%. All right, moving on to the world that I am not qualified to give an opinion on. It's the trends of production and manufacturing methods that are going to impact direct mail over the next year. I do not know enough even to qualify myself as uttering a sentence here, so I'm going to divert first to Dina and see what she has to say about this.
So I think the equipment technology side is the thing to watch. And I think Morgan shared it earlier when you said that the color and the capabilities with the variable imaging and the variable, messaging and stuff, it's huge, right? So I don't think that's cutting edge. It's been happening. What I think is becoming cutting edge, or we're going to watch and continue to see, is the technology that continues to happen out there with equipment vendors. We have inkjet technology currently. We have sheet fed. We don't have roll fed. We're looking at roll fed. I think that is what's really something to watch. And it's the speed that Mike talked about, getting it out the door, because there is no more, oh, yeah, we got a week to turn that project around. No, that's just not today's world. So it's how quick we can get it out with how much impact on it. And then the technology that brings out the life in it, the color, the embellishments, that really makes it eye appealing and eye catching and a meaningful piece in a quick time frame. So I think that's more the cutting edge that we're going to continue to see. And that, like, obviously things have changed. If you go back to like 8 years ago to where it was then to where it is today, it's amazing. That the automation side of it and the moving things through, along with software, how does software help impact that and set it up to get out to cut, move over to the machine to cut, get out to print, and then get it out to cut, and all that stuff, moving it through your operation quicker and efficiently and out the door within a 24-hour time frame.
It's interesting. I'm not a printer, but I have a question myself as if I'm a printer and I've got a simple 5-color sheet fed press and I'm like, I need to invest in something new. Let's say I even have a digital variable inkjet too, but I want some post-production piece, whether it's a coder or an embellisher or a foiler. How does one even know what to invest that money in? Let's say you can't afford to buy all of these machines. Do you do it based on a specific customer's need and to justify that investment off the line? Or where do you go? Where is the business seem to be leading? If I was going to buy a post-production machine, how would I even know where to go? Mike, why don't you probably have something to say on this?
I was hoping you would pick me, Brad. So I got a couple things because there's a lot to unpack. Some of the stuff that Dina said too, I want to touch on. But where do you go to buy something new? So I'll answer the question with a question. How did it go with your last 10 quarterly business reviews with your key accounts, and what did you learn? I'll wait for the answer.
That's a good point.
Okay. So what are we doing to, really sit down and talk about our customers' business? instead of just reacting to the next email or phone call, no, not phone call, but next email that comes through with either an RFP or a quote or something, right? We don't know. And here's one of the things that I see. Remember in the opening statements, the guys, the companies that are really accelerating, they are having those conversations. They're having those business discussions with their clients, trying to understand. There's no guarantees here, right? But they're trying to understand where their customers are going and why and how fast they're going and trying to keep up, trying to maybe take a step ahead. Maybe the more they know about their customers' business as well, they're bringing insight to them as well and understand and making recommendations that, you really ought to be doing this, really ought to be doing that, really ought to be doing the other thing. So we really need to be in front of our customers and not just pitching our latest new piece of stuff. It's really understanding their business, what keeps them up at night, and the higher level people as well. Um, Here's my other pet peeve with a lot of this stuff. Technology is way ahead of our ability to make money with it, right? And has been for years, right? And so one of the biggest things that has to happen for us to all feel good about this stuff is adoption rates by the end customers. One-to-one and variable stuff has been around like for ages, right? But how much, so I'd ask people that have a digital inkjet or digital toner box, what percentage of your work is actually variable? Start there, right? Because if it's not variable, you're just doing short run color, short run black and white, and all you've really done is reduce your cost and probably reduced the what you're charging for it as well. The more variable, the more targeted you can be with all the different things you can do, the higher value you're bringing to your customer, right? The higher value they're getting with that printed piece. It's not the printed piece, it's what the printed piece does for them. Does it drive people to an open house? Does it drive people to fill beds or school seats? I get a little passionate about this, right? Because we lose sight of all that stuff. Um, we need to not just focus on the stuff, but what our customers are doing with the things that we do. A question I ask all the time: how are your customers making money with the things you deliver to them? And if you don't know, don't pick up the phone again until you do.
So let me see if I can simplify this. And if there is if I'm a $5 million printer, $5 million a year, and I said to you, Mike, I need to get to $10 million in 2 years. Here's what pieces of major equipment would I need to have that the industry requires for that type of growth and industry size? You got to have an Indigo 8000. I don't know the names of these, or a KM1. Is there something that they got to have, or it doesn't really matter?
I don't think it matters really. I mean, depending upon what space you're in, but if you're 5 million, you have some stuff, whether you're all digital or you may have a small inkjet or you have an offset press. Here's the other part of it too, right? We outfit our businesses with equipment. Start at the baseline. Are we looking for work that'll help us fill that equipment, to fill that shop, to be more productive, or are we looking at work that we happen to stumble on, or by accident they call us and we're quoting on? That happens all the time.
Right.
You get salespeople that bring stuff in and they say, "Well, we don't do this." Yeah, but it's a good customer, or we think it could be a good customer, so let's do it anyway. That's okay if you're going to be a general commercial, be all things to all people. But I think that's just harder and harder to do these days. I just think it is. Um, what are we doing to make an impact on our customers' business? And you don't have to be 50 million or 500 million. You could be 5 million. You can be $1 million to have those conversations. And chances are you probably have enough equipment already, right, to take yourself to the next. I don't know. I haven't been to any shop that is tapped out. They have absolutely no more capacity. They can't grow.
I mean,
But they're all looking to buy new stuff.
that's a good point, and I really appreciate that. It's kind of like saying, you can't be a Michelin chef unless you cook on ironclad or La Creuset, and you don't have, the latest Japanese, 440 steel knives. You don't need that equipment to get the next job. So I appreciate that. And I think it's important for people to hear that. Ashley, you haven't said anything in this. You have noticed trends in manufacturing or post-production?
So, I mean, Dina mentioned inkjet, digital technology, digital embellishing, and talk about that. But one thing that Mike said that I thought it kind of triggered something I had read this morning that came into my inbox about hyper-personalization and being able to use the software, digital technology to provide this personalization. And the article was personalization is not customization. And it made the point that, there's some confusion maybe, or some, maybe misunderstanding sometimes where we think just slapping a name on something makes it personalized. But that's not what personalization is. It's building a bond between the brand or the company and the recipient. And I thought it was a great piece that I think it was INMA who posted it. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in because I think there is definitely a differentiation between the customization, personalization, targeting, and just keeping that in mind in 2025.
Excellent. Great. Dina, did you have any comments on post-production? Or you already did that. I gave you that one first, didn't I? So
Yeah.
unless you had a follow-up. Morgan, do you care about this subject? Do you care?
I mean, I'm like you, Brad. I'm not a printer, I'm not a mailer, but I am in the industry.
Yeah.
I work with printers and mailers all over the country. I mean, I think I have enough knowledge. I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, I think that methods that align with the postal incentives will be prominent, like interactive elements. Maybe in 2025, we'll see mail campaigns push the envelope, pun intended, like when it comes to interactivity and sensory engagement. Probably see like the use of textured paper, maybe augmented reality. I don't know. I mean, augmented reality has been around a long time, and there was like a lot of talk about it, but I don't see a lot of its use. I don't know, Dina, do your clients use augmented reality a lot, or
It's tough. It's expensive,
right?
and you have to have the tools to create it and to make, so no, we don't have many clients that use that at all.
Right. And so like this
Look
is
how
something.
long it took people to get used to having QR codes on everything. I
Exactly.
mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And like this is something I've seen as a postal incentive year over year. And like it's a neat feature. But yeah, some of these things are expensive to incorporate into the mail. But I think that the tactile experience is something that can very easily be used. And I think that marketers and brands can really start taking advantage of that. And then, Ashley kept talking a lot about sustainability, and it is becoming a top priority for customers. And I think that printers and mailers are going to start to follow suit in terms of eco-friendly materials and printing techniques. So,
Great. All right. So we're down to the last 5 or 6 minutes here. And I want to see if you guys have a specific on within the world of omnichannel marketing. We've all talked about using multi-channels to help and assist the lift on direct mail. Do you feel there's something coming around the bend, or there's some new trend that could be coupled with direct mail in the omnichannel universe to improve it in the next year or so? I'm going to go, we'll start with Morgan since this is her bread and butter, and then we'll move around the group.
I mean, listen, I don't know. It's so vast and broad. I don't know that I could nail or pin it down to any one element that's incorporated into omnichannel. But I just have to say that firstly and foremost, direct mail is the powerhouse in the omnichannel campaign. And given our ability to create a hyper-targeted audience and market to the right people, you can then take advantage of the powerful impact driven by mail. It's tangible. It activates the long-term memory centers in the brain, and then you utilize technology, whichever one you choose, to drive prospects to a website where you can engage the prospects most likely to respond, right? So you're making the best utilization of your digital marketing budget because now you're engaging the people that actually responded from the DM. And the thing is, though, too, is that even without a QR code or something driving them directly to the website, DM recipients are going to go there anyway if there's interest. But using those interactive digital features will give you tracking capabilities. And the other thing too, when you're like, well, what one channel or one thing, you have to understand that the average number of channels that a consumer is engaging in a prospect journey is 8. 8 channels. So I would say the more channels that can be leveraged through the omnichannel campaign, the better. Consumers prefer to start the buying journey in some, they prefer to convert in others. So I say the best mix is you start with mail, you enhance with digital, and you close the deal with direct mail. And, I just got to put a little plug in here because it's our webinar. We have built an entire business around this at Direct Mail 2.0. So we started almost a decade ago with 3 technologies. Now we're up to 15. So if you don't want to try to figure this all out, you can use our platform. We have a streamlined turnkey solution that you can take advantage of, and we can help with that.
Thank you, Morgan. I somehow knew that was going to come up. Right. Ashley, you got any favorite areas of omnichannel with direct mail?
I would just say, making sure in the coming years, especially because the generations that are, entering the workforce, that are consumers, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, by 2030, Gen Alpha is going to start entering the workforce. Crazy. They're digital natives. But I've been seeing something just hit my inbox the other day about how Gen Z loves direct mail. Like they don't get mail, but they do, but they don't get as much mail maybe as other generations. But they do love, it sticks out to them because they're digital natives, because they have this, an inbox that's just inundated every day. Targeting them and actually doing something that's effective, direct mail, like Morgan said, then targeting them, through email or some other digital way, and then closing it with direct mail, it's going to be effective. And just keeping in mind that things are going to change, with the type of people that you have to target over the next few years.
Absolutely. Dina, I know you do a lot of omni-channel. You guys do it pretty well, obviously, because you've never been a customer of ours, so you know what you're doing. You don't need us. I understand. I'm not hurt. Tell us what you think.
Ouch.
What you've seen is what you think is coming around the bend or see growing.
What we see most effective with direct mail, because Morgan's right, like direct mail is the best bang for the buck when you are prospecting and trying to stay in touch with your customers. IP targeting for us is something that we do a lot with customers, and it works really effectively with mail. I think that it really depends on the product or service. Then we can talk about what components work, because there's aspects where ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, like that tied into direct mail works. There's some email might work. I say that quietly, they're like, but everybody's so flooded, right? So that it just depends on really the product or service. We don't really talk about components until we understand the product or service the customer is selling and what it is they're trying to accomplish. And then we can talk about building it from there. But I would say the one thing tied to direct mail we see the most of is IP targeting.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not a cheap solution either. You're paying a lot more to get in front of the eyes of those individuals specifically,
It's not cheap. No.
Not cheap.
Marketing is worth the
One-to-one.
It's
investment.
Yeah.
exactly.
There you go.
Mike, did you have a horse in this race that you'd like to
Yeah,
make?
so I'll just say, so I'm not I'm not an expert on omnichannel marketing by any means, but I do believe it kind of goes back to what we've all been talking about is how do we have a conversation with a customer, right? And so it's got to be multiple channels, it's got to be multiple ways, multiple steps. But Brad, I have to take advantage of this that, living just outside of DC and kind of being a political junkie, I'm gonna answer the question with something that I want to talk about, which something I should have said earlier. When you asked me about the equipment, what to buy if you're a $5 million to get to 10 million, I don't have the answer for that. But if you're doing direct mail today, if you're doing a lot of direct mail, and Dina talked about this earlier where she has sheet-fed inkjet, looking at roll-fed inkjet, one of the things, one of my pet peeves is eliminating or minimizing the amount of touches that we have on a project as it goes through the shop, right? Increasing the velocity of the job. And one of the really cool things that I've seen shops that put roll-fed inkjet in there, let's just pick something really easy, postcards. They're coming out, they're putting roll postcards, they're putting them through an inline finishing device. They're coming out trimmed and stacked in 6x9 postcards, putting them in mail trays. No more taking them to a cutter, no more taking them to a couple other different places, right? I mean, it's just expedites and reduces the amount of touches through the shop, which is reduces cost, increases velocity, all that neat stuff. So I'm a big fan of that. That really seen it put into practice here in the last few years.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So as we wrap up, I want to make sure that our esteemed panelists get acknowledged for their time here. And as always, I like to end on time. Feel free to scan these codes, contact these people. I'll leave this up, but I really appreciate your time. It was very insightful, and I'm excited about 2025. And we'll do one of these again next year. So feel free to scan the codes. We're going to send a copy of this out. There was amazing stuff in the chat, which I did not even get time to go over. We got through most of the questions, but again, everybody have a great holiday. Thank you again. And it was great seeing everybody and chatting for an hour. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.